Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be here with you in Cannes. Thanks so much for taking time to speak to us. Huge congrats on the movie. For people who haven't seen Last One for the Road yet, can you give us a brief introduction? What can they expect when they come to watch your film?
You can expect a lot of drinks and a lot of rambling around and a lot of drunkenness.
And I kind of love the sort of kitsch, sort of offbeat feel of this movie. Maybe you can tell us a bit about the genesis of it. What was the spark of inspiration that gave you the idea?
Yeah, so I come from a region that's very focused on alcohol, and I thought that was strange that no one did a film about that. And so I said, okay, I want to make a film about the mystic of alcohol. One day I was hangover and I had this idea, and I thought it was a cool idea, a cool mechanism for a story. This idea that you want to drink the last one and it's never the last one, and you go on and you go on and you go on. And I thought it was a pretty good narrative idea, so that's how it started.
In the way it sort of transforms into this kind of like road trip sort of buddy movie, which is obviously kind of a genre unto itself. So I wondered if you, excuse me, took reference from any other films that kind of do that kind of road trip journey.
But for me, the references are more or less like the commedia all'italiana, like the Italian comedy from the 60s, because it was like a really great medium that allowed the director to speak about the present time, but in a very funny and intelligent way. And I love that kind of cinema, like Il Sorpasso by Dino Risi. So that's where I took inspiration, like that kind of films that rambles around and they observe the landscape around, and you see. And I really like John Ford, so I like this idea of man in the landscape, and that it has something for me. Yeah.
And how did you work with your co-writer, Adriano? And I feel like you must have had a lot of fun, just maybe even over a few beers, like bouncing off each other with the dialogue.
Yeah, actually, our method, like we've been knowing each other for 15 years now, and we always write together. But each film is different to write, and each thing we do, it's a bit different. So this time I had like thousands of notes about things that I heard in bars, like drunken people talking, and I took notes. And then we went to a place, we rented a place, like a abandoned church, and we had all these notes spread around a big table, and we were acting out the film to each other. So all the gags and jokes, we tried it on us, and meanwhile we were writing it down, so it was very funny.
And definitely the look of it feels very distinct, and it feels like it is capturing something of this kind of like, this almost feels a bit retro or nostalgic or kind of, like I said, kitsch, this kind of working class kind of environment. How did you want the film to look and feel, and how did that aid you in telling your story?
I shot it on film, of course, and I shot it on super 16mm that's already has this strong look. But actually I wanted to do like a really film about the present, so I tried to capture sort of light that permeates the present. But I mean, I don't have social media, I don't know anything about the digital world, very little. So for me it's how I see things, like I take analog pictures, and I shoot like my life in Super 8. So for me, that's the aesthetic of life. So I wanted to feel it like life.
Does it change how you shoot a movie though? I mean, the fact that you're on film, obviously you probably have like the budget constraints, but then maybe that can also in a way aid the creative process, because you can't just endlessly retake and retake and retake.
No, absolutely. Also because digital brings you to a precise response, but I don't care about precision. Like I'm not precise at all in how I am, and I like more like the energy of what I'm doing, and film it's perfect to capture that energy. Also because if you shoot in remote places, you don't see the dailies, and you see them like the week after. And so every night you go to sleep and you think about what you did, and then you wake up the next day and you have sort of like a idea of a half forgotten dream, and you build on that dream, And for me, this dreamy way of shooting, it's perfect for how I am. Yeah.
And in a way, you could say sort of like the rhythm of the film almost feels like, you know, when you are on a hangover and you know, that it sort of meanders and it's introspective and kind of, it's not in a hurry, you know, maybe kind of feeling a bit like your brain's gone a bit slow, but you're sort of also get quite reflective. Was that kind of what was feeding into
Yeah,
that
totally.
feeling?
Yeah. Also, I told Adriano, the co-writer, that I wanted to give with this film the feeling, the rush of alcohol at the beginning, that's growing in the first like half an hour of the film, and then slowly go into this hangover mood where I mean, when I'm a hangover, I'm super fragile, like emotionally and physically, and I think I have the deepest thought and then I forget them, and so I wanted the film to feel definitely this way. Yeah.
And I kind of love that you've got this such contrast between the two older characters and then Filippo's character. How did you go about your casting? And did you already have in mind who were going to play the roles? I mean, Filippo seems to have had a meteoric rise, you know, working with Sorrentino, and then I saw him in American Backyard as well. Like doing so many different projects, it feels like you've caught someone, you know, at a very good moment in their career.
Yeah. No, I when I write, I don't think about actors, because I think that if you write thinking about actors, then you tend to write what you know they can do, and I'm not interested in what I know they can do, but I'm interested more in what they don't know they have maybe inside of them, and try to capture them. That, and but Filippo was. All three of them were easy choices, because when I started to say, okay, I have to cast this film, I immediately started to think, and I met Filippo and I gave him a book that's very important to me, I Sillabari by Goffredo Parise, and he read it and he was emotionally super involved with the book, and I understood that we could work together. For me, it's very important to connect on a deeper level. It's not about the aesthetic or whatever. And with Sergio also came to my place, and we spent a lot of days together discussing the film, and then he went to live in my hometown for a while to understand how people in bars talk and move, and so it was very transformative for him. And Pierpaolo, I'm a huge fan of his band, Il Teatro degli Orrori, and I always wanted to work with him, and I always thought, why is he not doing the actor? Like, he has such a strong presence and a strong charisma. I never understood why he didn't make a film before, but and then he told me, no one ever asked me, and I was like, okay, I'm the first to ask you, and luckily he accepted.
And was that like a seamless transition for him, like coming onto a film
Yeah,
set?
he's always cool, so he doesn't care.
And I feel like you must have just had so much fun shooting this movie and almost like everyone bouncing off each other. What were some of the highlights, challenges on set? Was there much improvisation perhaps, or actually it's all there in the script and just about kind of having fun with it?
No, it's all there in the script. Like they act out exactly the lines, and I don't rely on improvisation because it tends to be very. You cannot redo it, so it's a problem. It's a huge problem, especially if you shoot in certain ways. Also because I don't plan a shoot. No, I don't have a shooting list. I don't plan anything. So I go on set and watch and start to film. And but we had a lot of fun. Yeah, the problems were the weekends, of course, because then we were hangover on Saturday, Sunday. No, but it was really no. It was intense experience because also doing a road movie, it means that you're traveling when you're doing it. So we travel as a crew with the film, and it's very interesting. There are a lot of parallelism then that happens, but then, you know, as a director, I'm a bit detached because I have to think all the time how to go on. So I wish I had more fun at some point, but I couldn't.
And I think it's a bit of a cliche to say it, but you know, when you have like a road movie, we always say that, you know, you kind of go on a journey internally too. And definitely with the setup between the younger character and the older characters, you know, they seem so different and apart, but then they kind of find connection. And Filippo's character in particular definitely goes on a journey. So where do you think he ends up by the end of the film? What is it he kind of learns?
I mean, it's the last night before the rest of his life, you know? I don't think people change. It's a bit of an illusion that you can change, but maybe you have a sudden moment of clear idea, of more, you can get a more clear idea on something, but maybe then you lose it. So I don't know, maybe he lost what happened that night just a minute after. I don't know. I don't really know where he goes. I hope he's gonna be a good architect, but let's see.
And do you feel like there is this kind of intergenerational sort of dynamic happening there? And what do you think the older characters kind of represent for you in a way?
For me, I'm very interested in that generation, because it feels like a bit of a lost generation. Like, who are they? I don't know. And so I was interested in portraying them because I see a lot of them in bars, and I know they were born in a certain system of extreme wealth. Also, like in small town, like you would work in a factory and you would live very well by what you could earn. But then after 2008 crisis, that their world fell apart. But they were already living in that world before for so many time that it's difficult to adapt to the change. So I like that. It's interesting for me to observe and try to tell it. Like, why are they stuck in the past? Why are they like this? And it's interesting for me. Yeah.
And even in the idea of, you know, one last drink, one for the road, there's something sort of bittersweet about it, I guess, because, you know, can feel very fun in the moment, but it's also sometimes, you know, you're struggling to let go, struggling to end the night. So what do you think even that concept itself holds for you?
It's the idea that you always want to feel some form of desire, no? Like you want to go on desire, and when the night is over, the thing which is most difficult to let go is the desire that the night can go on. And so I like that moment when it breaks, that you cannot go on anymore, but you still have the desire to go on, but you may be too tired. I like that moment because it's a shift and it's bittersweet. Because then maybe you have that moment that you go to sleep and you're like, there's something sad about it, no? I like that. And I think when they wake up completely hangover and they feel the need to hug each other in the bed, I think it's exactly that you want to hold on to something.
And ultimately, what do you hope people will feel when they come out the cinema after watching your film?
I think how they came out yesterday is a good way to come out. Like I felt the room was very involved in the film, and I saw like people, they were very emotional about the film, and I like that. I didn't think it would be like so strongly emotion. That I saw people like crying and people laughing, and I like that mix of emotion in the audience.
And what has it meant to you to have your film here at Cannes Film Festival?
It means a lot, of course. No, I'm still a bit under shock by all this because it happened so fast, and it's a great venue. And what is the most interesting about Cannes Film Festival is how the audience is in the cinema, in the theater, because they feel involved and they feel they can react to the film, and I like that. You know, they're not silent and like sitting there in the dark and not saying anything, but they react to the film, and I think this is quite rare.
And do you already know what you're going to be working on next? You're going to collaborate with your co-writer again? Or?
We have a lot of projects, me and Adriano, and yeah, a lot of projects. I'm doing research now for a documentary about UFOs in my region. Like there's a center that study UFOs in my region, and I'm doing research on that and a lot of other stuff also. But I want to survive this Cannes Film Festival and then start to think what I'm doing next.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you, Sarah.
Huge
Thank you.
congrats on the movie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.